You wake up in 1885 and the first thing your senses do is file a formal complaint. It's not the rooster crowing, birds chirping, sun kissing your face kind of morning. Oh no. Your nose is immediately assaulted by a brutal cocktail of horse manure, coal smoke, rotting garbage, and something suspiciously like dead rat stew wafting from the alley. Congratulations. You've just been welcomed to the Gilded Age, where the streets are paved with opportunity, assuming you consider opportunity to smell like a barnyard dumpster on fire. You blink a few times, and your bedroom comes into focus. By bedroom, I mean a cramped corner of a tenement apartment where you share space with 5 other people, none of whom understand the concept of personal hygiene. The wallpaper is peeling, the mattress is lumpy, and the morning light peeking through the window is mostly blocked by a giant brick wall, courtesy of the factory next door. You can hear it roaring to life already, the machinery clanking like a metal giant waking up in a bad mood. Stepping out into the hallway, you carefully avoid the mysterious puddle. It's either water from a leaky pipe or something you really, really don't want on your shoes. The wood creaks under your feet, and the air smells faintly of boiled cabbage. You pass by Mrs. O'Malley's door. She's already yelling at her kids to get ready for work. Yes, work. They're 12. Welcome to the wonderful world of child labor, where small hands mean better stitching, and smaller lungs mean they can breathe in more factory dust without complaining too much. When you finally make it outside, the city hits you like a slap in the face. The street is alive. If by alive you mean teeming with people in various stages of yelling, selling, or being sold to. Vendors shout out prices for bread, meat, and questionable oysters that have been sitting in the sun far too long. Horses clop by, pulling streetcars that groan under the weight of passengers. Someone's sweeping trash from the curb directly into the gutter because sanitation is still more of a suggestion than a science. You sidestep a pile of something that might be manure, might be garbage, or might be an unfortunate combination of both. The skyline is in flux. New buildings shoot up like weeds, grand department stores with glittering windows right next to dingy little shops selling second-hand clothes. You see well-dressed businessmen in shiny shoes stepping over beggars without even looking down. It's the perfect metaphor for the Gilded Age. Shiny on the outside, rotting underneath. The newspapers call it progress. You call it Don T trip over the trolley tracks while trying not to inhale the smoke. Down the block, you spot a group of men unloading crates from a wagon, their muscles straining under the weight. A policeman strolls past, twirling his club, keeping a casual eye on things. Not for your safety, mind you. He's more interested in making sure no one disrupts the business of the rich folks. You overhear a conversation between 2 women about a fire last night that burned down half a block. Nobody mentions insurance because most people can't afford it. The solution? Move on, rebuild, and hope you're not next. And then there's the noise. The city in the Gilded Age doesn't have quiet hours. It's one constant hum of clatter, shouts, hammers, horse hooves, and the occasional piano music drifting from a saloon. Somewhere, someone is laughing. Somewhere else, someone's screaming. It all blends together until it feels like part of your bloodstream. You're living in a place that's growing faster than anyone can control, fueled by ambition, greed, and a whole lot of questionable decision-making. You glance up at a billboard plastered with an advertisement for the latest miracle tonic, guaranteed to cure everything from headaches to female troubles. The fine print might as well read, "Contains enough alcohol to make you forget your problems for an afternoon." Over by the curb, a man in a bowler hat hawks cigars to a couple of dock workers, while a group of street kids play stickball dangerously close to the trolley tracks. Everywhere you look, there's contrast. One street over, carriages line up outside a grand hotel where ladies in silk dresses step out like they were entering a ballroom. 2 streets the other way, you've got a flop house where beds are rented by the hour, because sleep is a luxury and no one's wasting money on an all-night stay if they can't afford it. Wealth and poverty live shoulder to shoulder here, pretending not to notice each other. And you, standing in the middle of it all, or just trying to figure out how to get through the day without getting trampled by a runaway horse, pickpocketed by the kid pretending to shine your shoes, or infected with whatever's currently spreading through the tenement. Spoiler: it's probably cholera. There's a strange electricity in the air, though. For all its grime and danger, the city feels like it's on the edge of something big. You can't quite tell if it's greatness or disaster, but either way, you're in the middle of it. And whether you're ready or not, it's time to move. The factory whistle is already screaming for you. And being late means losing a day's pay, or worse, your job. And in the Gilded Age, losing your job isn't an inconvenience, it's a sentence. So you adjust your worn jacket, take a deep breath, immediately regretting the deep breath, and start walking toward the smokestacks in the distance. Somewhere behind you, a street preacher is shouting about sin, a newsboy is yelling headlines about strikes and scandals, and a carriage nearly clips your shoulder as it races past. It's loud, it's dirty, it's overwhelming. And it's your life now. And hey, while you're at it, smash that like button before things get industrial, because trust me, this ride's about to get a lot bumpier. Your job is the kind of gig nobody brags about at dinner, assuming you could even afford dinner. You work in a factory, and not one of those neat little artisan places that sells hipster soap. No, this is an industrial monster with floors slick from oil, air thick with smoke, and machinery so loud you have to scream just to insult the guy next to you. You arrive before sunrise because, in 1885, labor laws are basically an urban legend. The building looms in front of you like some brick and iron fortress, its windows glowing faintly from the heat inside. The moment you step through the door, the temperature punches you in the face. Whether it's summer or winter doesn't matter. Inside, the machines rule. Massive steel arms swing back and forth. Belts whir overhead, and gears chew through the air with an endless metal snarl. Your boss is a man named Mr. Harris, though you're not sure if Harris is his real name or just a placeholder for human thundercloud. He's got a bristly mustache, a vest that's never quite buttoned straight, and a voice that could strip paint off the walls. He doesn't believe in smiles. Smiles cost time, and time costs money. Hands moving, eyes forward, he barks as soon as you're within range. The job, simple in theory, miserable in practice. You're stationed at a machine that stamps out little brass fittings. You take the raw piece, place it in position, press the foot pedal, and watch the machine slam down like it's trying to kill you on purpose. 12 hours of this, with only a short break in the middle of the day to shovel in some bread and maybe an apple if you're feeling rich. If you fall behind, Harris appears like a specter at your elbow, muttering about efficiency, while his eyes track your every move. The danger isn't just the boss breathing down your neck. The machinery is like a hungry animal. It doesn't care if it has stamping brass or fingers. There's a guy named Tommy down the line who's missing 2 fingertips. He calls them souvenirs. Another worker, Ellen, has a permanent limp after her skirt got caught in the conveyor belt. They didn't stop the machine right away. Time is money, remember? The air is a stew of smells. Hot metal, grease, sweat, and that faint tang of blood from someone's latest mishap. You breathe it in all day until your throat feels raw and your clothes carry the scent home. It's in your hair, your pillow, even your dreams. And the noise? Good luck having a conversation without shouting. It's just this constant hammering, grinding, and clattering that fills every corner of your brain. Your co-workers are a mismatched crew. Immigrants fresh off the boat who barely speak English, farmers' kids who got tired of starving in the countryside, widows trying to keep food on the table. Everyone's got their own rhythm, their own way of zoning out while the hours crawl by. You develop a system, counting the pieces, making up stories about the people who might buy them, imagining you're anywhere else. Sometimes you joke with the guy next to you, but mostly you save your voice. Words cost energy, and you need every scrap of it to make it through the day. The lunch break is less of a break and more of a controlled collapse. You sit on a bench in the corner, wiping sweat from your forehead while you unwrap your food. Bread, a chunk of cheese, maybe some pickles. If you're lucky, you can sneak outside for fresh air, though fresh is debatable. The street smells like horse droppings and coal smoke, but compared to inside, it's practically mountain air. The second half of the shift is worse. Your muscles ache, your hands are raw, and the repetition becomes hypnotic. You start making little mistakes, not enough to get you fired, but enough to earn a glare from Harris. You tell yourself to focus, but the lure of drifting off is strong. The problem is, if you do drift off, the machine will happily chew you into next Tuesday. When the whistle finally blows, it's not so much a relief as it is permission to limp home. Your back is tight, your shoulders are stiff, and your hands feel like they've been replaced with sacks of wet sand. You clock out. There's no punch card, just Harris ticking your name off a list, and step out into the street. The sun's already low, and the world feels muted compared to the roaring chaos inside. You're not done yet, though. The pay? Barely enough to keep a roof over your head and bread on your table? You've been here long enough to know there's no climbing the ladder. The ladder's been sawed in half. If you get sick or injured, that's it. There's no safety net, no workers' comp, no sorry for your loss. You are replaced before the ink's dry on your hospital bill, if you can even afford to go to a hospital. Still, you come back every day because the alternative is worse. Street work, odd jobs, begging, none of those pay better, and all of them come with their own set of dangers. In the factory, at least you know the risks, and at least the machine doesn't pretend to be your friend before stabbing you in the back. And here is the thing. There is a strange sense of pride buried under all the exhaustion. You're part of the machine in more ways than one. Your brass fittings might end up in a railroad car, a ship, or some fancy piece of furniture in a mansion you'll never set foot in. It's not much, but it's something. So you trudge home, clothes clinging to your sweat, hands sore, lungs heavy with dust. Tomorrow, you'll be back in the same spot, doing the same motions, earning the same pay. Because in the Gilded Age, that's survival. And survival, no matter how grim, is still living, at least until the machine decides otherwise. The people you deal with every day are as much a part of your job as the machines, though calling them co-workers feels a bit too tidy. They're more like characters trapped in the same long-running, low-budget drama you're starring in, except there's no glamorous finale, just more shifts. You've got Frank on your left. Frank's a talker, which is both a blessing and a curse. He can spin a story so vivid you almost forget you are in a room that sounds like a herd of metal buffaloes stampeding. But his stories have a suspicious way of making Frank the hero. According to him, he once met Andrew Carnegie, fought off a mugger with a single punch, and invented a better way to run the stamping press, though, strangely, he's still working the same job as you. He grins with teeth that could use more soap than they've seen in a year, and you can't help but like him, even if you know half of what he says is nonsense. On your right is Mary. Mary's small, quick, and probably only 14, though her face is set in that hard, older-than-her-years way that comes from too much responsibility too soon. She's got 3 younger siblings and a father who drinks more than he works, so she's here every day without fail. She doesn't talk much, but when she does, it's usually a dry, sharp remark that cuts through the noise better than a whistle. You've learned never to underestimate her. Then there's Big Joe, further down the line. Big Joe is not a complicated man. He's built like a brick wall, has hands like shovels, and eats the same lunch every day, a slab of bread and whatever meat he can afford. The meat is always questionably cooked, and he will defend his lunch from anyone like it's gold. Someone once joked about taking a bite, and Big Joe's glare made them reconsider the entire trajectory of their life. The foreman, Mr. Harris, is a constant presence, patrolling like a prison guard, eyes scanning for slackers, mistakes, or reasons to yell. He has this way of appearing behind you without a sound, so you've developed a sixth sense for when he's approaching. You can practically feel the temperature drop. His voice cuts through the factory like a cleaver. Move faster, less talking, keep your mind on your work. He doesn't care if your hands are bleeding, if you've been standing for 12 hours, Or if you just saw a coworker's sleeve get eaten by the machine, productivity is his religion, and you are one of the faithful. During the rare moments when the noise dips low enough to talk without shouting, the gossip starts. You hear about strikes in other factories, about a new union forming somewhere in Chicago, about the guy who disappeared after talking too much about organizing. You hear about a girl who quit because she was going to marry rich. And you all laugh because you know marrying rich is about as likely as the machines sprouting legs and walking out of the building. Outside the factory, you see them in a different light. Frank, for example, turns into a real gentleman when he's in his Sunday suit, escorting his mother to church. Mary's more relaxed in the street, hair down, laughing with her sisters as they share a loaf of bread on the curb. Big Joe, believe it or not, plays cards with the neighborhood kids, though he still eats his meat alone. Even Harris, the terrifying Harris, softens his voice when speaking to his wife on the steps of their modest house. You catch yourself wondering if he hates the job as much as you do. The walk to and from work is where the other people you deal with come in. The streets are crowded with vendors hawking everything from boiled peanuts to bootleg whiskey. You've got the corner preacher shouting about hellfire, the newsboys waving papers with headlines about corruption and scandal, and the street kids weaving between adults, eyes sharp for easy wallets. Every so often you see one dart away, chased by a red-faced man yelling about theft. No one intervenes. Everyone's too busy trying to keep hold of their own meager possessions. In the evenings, the saloons fill up fast. You might stop in for a beer if you've got a few coins to spare, and that's where you hear the real stories, the rumors about factory owners, the whispered plans for walkouts, the half-true tales of someone's cousin who struck it rich out west. The air in the saloon is thick with smoke, laughter, and the occasional fight that erupts over a card game. You learn quickly to keep your back to the wall and your eyes on your drink. The tenement where you live has its own cast of characters. The old widow downstairs who complains about the noise but somehow knows every piece of gossip in the building. The Italian family next door who argue loudly but will slip you a piece of bread if you re-looking thin. The man across the hall who coughs all night and hasn't been to work in weeks. You all know he's not going to get better, but no one says it out loud. It's a strange kind of community, part camaraderie, part survival pact. You watch out for each other in small ways, saving someone's spot in line at the bakery, warning them if the landlord's coming to collect rent, passing along an extra scrap of food when times are especially lean. There's an unspoken rule that you do not pry too much into anyone is past, because odds are it's filled with more hardship than they care to share. Some nights, lying in bed, you think about the sheer number of people you interact with in a single day, hundreds, maybe more, from the moment you leave your door to the moment you crawl back under the blanket. And yet, it can feel lonely. Everyone's moving too fast, heads down, eyes on survival. You're all pieces in the same machine, not just in the factory, but in the city itself. But there are moments, fleeting, small, where you remember why you keep going. Frank making you laugh so hard you almost miss your lunch break. Mary quietly slipping a coin into another worker's hand because she knows they re-short on rent. Big Joe standing between a drunk troublemaker and the smaller guys on the line. Those moments feel like tiny acts of rebellion, proof that you're all still human in a system that would prefer you weren't. Tomorrow, you'll see them all again. Frank with his stories, Mary with her sharp wit, Big Joe with his guarded loyalty, Harris with his relentless bark. The faces might blur over time, but the way they make the grind bearable, that's something you'll never forget. Night creeps in like it's got something to hide, but it's not fooling anyone. The day crowd, workers, vendors, kids playing in the street, melts away, replaced by a different kind of hustle. The street lamps flicker to life, coughing out weak yellow halos that make the shadows seem darker, thicker. The gaslight doesn't so much chase away the dark as it makes it look theatrical, like you've stepped into a stage set for a crime drama where you might be the victim. You make your way home, weaving through clusters of people who are all trying to get somewhere fast, like if they stop moving, the night might swallow them. The air's colder now, which you'd appreciate if it didn't also carry the smell of stale beer, horse manure, and whatever's rotting in the gutter. Somewhere nearby, a cat yowls like it's auditioning for a horror movie. You pass an alley and catch movement out of the corner of your eye. Two men are pressed against the brick wall, one whispering something urgent, the other holding a knife. Not to use, just to show. You don't linger. In the Gilded Age, minding your business is less about politeness and more about survival. Down the main street, the saloons are glowing like beacons, their doors swinging open and shut as men stumble in and out. The sound of laughter, shouting, and the occasional crash spills into the street, blending with the clanging of the last streetcars rattling down the rails. You pass by one doorway and catch a glimpse inside, tables crowded with men smoking cheap cigars, women in bright dresses leaning in with smiles that don't reach their eyes, and a piano player hammering out a tune over the din. You start to notice the patterns, the rich men who glide past in carriages, untouched by the grime, their faces smooth and clean like they've never once had to scrub grease out of their clothes. The politicians who show up for photo ops, shaking hands they'll never shake again. The factory owners who buy bigger houses while your wages stay the same. It's called the Gilded Age for a reason. Everything looks shiny from a distance, but get close enough and you see the rust underneath. Still, people fight for better. You've heard whispers about unions forming, strikes planned in other cities. You've seen workers gather after hours in the back of a saloon, voices low, eyes scanning the door. They're risking their jobs, maybe even their lives, for the idea that things could change. It's a dangerous hope to have, but it's there. Even you, though you'd never say it out loud, feel that spark some nights when you think about a life that's more than just work and survival. The city has a way of teaching you resilience in small, stubborn ways. You learn how to stretch a loaf of bread over 3 days. You learn to patch your clothes until the fabric is more patched than original. You learn to read people's yes faces, the ones who will sell you out to the boss for a favor, the ones who will slip you an extra slice of meat when no one's looking. You learn that kindness here is a currency, rare and valuable, and you give it out carefully. There are moments that remind you life isn't just toil. Sundays, when the factory's quiet and the streets fill with people in their best clothes, heading to church or just strolling. The first bite of something sweet from a street vendor. The sound of music drifting from a window. Someone playing for no other reason than they want to. A laugh that catches you off guard and makes you forget for a minute that your hands are cracked and your back is aching. You think about the kids you see running barefoot down the street, dodging streetcars and shouting to each other. They're growing up in the same chaos you did, but they're still smiling. You wonder if they'll be stuck in the same grind when they're older, or if the city will be different by then. History has a way of promising change while keeping the same game running, just with new players. And then there's the bigger picture. This isn't just your life. It's the story of millions of people, all stacked on top of each other, holding up the wealth and progress everyone brags about. The railroads, the skyscrapers, the new inventions. None of it exists without the hands of people like you. No one will put your name in the papers for it, but that doesn't make it less true. Sometimes you wonder if the people in those mansions ever think about what it takes to keep their lights on, their trains running, their plates full. Probably not. Maybe that's what it means to be truly rich, not just having money, but having the luxury of forgetting what life costs other people. Still, you're here. You've survived the cough that's been going around. You've dodged the gangs, kept your job despite the injuries and the endless hours. You've made it through nights when the streets felt too dark and days when the factory felt like it would swallow you whole. That has to count for something. One day, the Gilded Age will end. People will look back at it and talk about the railroads, the robber barons, the golden progress. Some will even romanticize it, turn it into stories about grit and glory. They want to smell the coal smoke in their nostrils or feel the factory's heat burning their skin. They would not know what it's like to walk home clutching a stale loaf of bread like it's treasure. But you'll know. You lie in bed at night, staring at the cracked ceiling, and you think about what comes next. Maybe you'll leave the city. Maybe you'll save enough to open a little shop. Maybe you'll just keep going until something changes, whether it's the world or just your luck. And here's the truth that settles in. Heavy, but not entirely bitter. The Gilded Age is a test. It's ugly and unfair and exhausting, but it forces you to adapt, to endure, to find slivers of joy in the cracks. You don't know if that makes you strong or just stubborn, but you're still here. And in a place like this, that's victory enough. So would you make it out alive, or would this city chew you up and spit you out before you even had the chance to fight back? Think about it. Then think about the people who didn't have a choice and still made it anyway. Because in the end, survival isn't just about getting through the day. It's about knowing you were here, in the thick of it. And that somehow, you kept going when the odds said you wouldn't. And that, for all its grime and grit, is something worth remembering. The gangs own these streets after dark, and everyone knows it. The Wyos, the dead rabbits, the gophers, they've all got their turf, their lookouts, and their grudges. You keep your head down when you pass a group of men lounging against a lamppost, their hats low, their eyes following you just long enough to make your stomach tighten. One of them smirks, and you walk faster without making it obvious. It's not just the gangs you have to worry about. The police prowl the streets too, but they're not here to keep you safe. They're here to keep order for the people who matter, which doesn't include you. If you get mugged, they'll shrug. If you so much as look suspicious near a rich man's carriage, they'll have you up against the wall before you can blink. You've seen it happen. Your tenement building looms ahead, its doorway a dark mouth swallowing up whoever steps inside. But tonight you're not heading straight there. You've got to make a stop at the grocer's for bread, and the shortest way takes you past the docks. The smell hits you first, salt water mixed with fish and the metallic tang of the river. Ships creak against their moorings and shadows move along the piers. Some are just workers finishing late. Others are men who've been drinking all day and now have too much energy to burn. You keep your eyes forward. The dockside is a place where deals happen. Some legal, most not. You hear snatches of conversation. Shipment's coming in tomorrow night. Tell him it's triple now. No, I don't care what he said, I want my cut. You pick up your pace. It's not that you're looking for trouble. It's that trouble here has a nasty habit of looking for you. By the time you reach the grocer, the bread's already gone stale, but it's better than nothing. You hand over your coins, tucking the loaf under your arm like it's gold. On the way back, the streets are quieter, but not safer. Quieter means fewer witnesses. You turn onto your block and spot a shape slumped against the wall. A drunk? Maybe. Or maybe it's someone waiting for the right moment to relieve you of your bread, your coins, or both. You cross to the other side without slowing down. Your footsteps echo on the cobblestones, too loud in the empty street. Inside your building, the air is thick and stale. The hallway lamps are dim, casting just enough light to show the peeling wallpaper and the scurrying shapes along the baseboards. You climb the stairs, every creak making you wish they'd hold together just one more night. In your room, you bolt the door. You can still hear the city outside, laughter from the corner saloon, the faint clang of a trolley bell, and somewhere far off, the muffled pop of a gunshot. No one will investigate. It'll be tomorrow's gossip, maybe, if anyone can figure out who it was. The danger after dark isn't always loud. Sometimes it is the quiet things that get you. The cough from the man in the next room that's been getting worse. The strange smell from downstairs that makes you think someone is cooking with something they shouldn't tea. The landlord's footsteps when he comes by late to remind tenants about rent. You've heard the stories about people being evicted in the middle of the night, their belongings dumped in the street. You lie down, bread on the table, boots by the bed, and you tell yourself you'll make it through another night. The trick is not to think too far ahead. The city changes after dark. Allegiances shift, tempers flare, and people disappear. You've learned that darkness in the Gilded Age isn't just the absence of light. It's a whole other world with its own rules, and breaking them can cost you more than your wallet. Tomorrow you'll walk these streets again, past the same faces and the same shadows. You'll pass the gangs, the drunks, the tired workers heading home. You'll nod to the ones you know, avoid the ones you don't, and keep your eyes sharp. Because in this city, the night isn't just something you sleep through, it's something you survive. The Gilded Age doesn't let you forget what you're made of, because every day it tests exactly how much you can take before you break. You start to realize that what feels normal now, long shifts, dangerous streets, stale bread for dinner, wasn't meant to be normal for anyone. But here you are, living it, and so is everyone around you. The city hums like a restless machine, chewing people up and spitting them out, yet somehow you're still standing. The morning whistle doesn't just signal work. It's the pulse of your life. You drag yourself out of bed, muscles sore from yesterday, lungs heavy with soot, and you do it again because there's no other option. You watch the same people file into the factory, the same faces on the streetcars, the same vendors yelling over the clatter. Every so often, someone disappears. A coworker injured on the job, a neighbor who got evicted, a kid who went west chasing some rumor of gold. Their absence is a gap you step over without thinking too much about it, because dwelling on it means imagining your own gap.